Ali, as there is a space for a Mirzapur and for a Khufia, for you, the rawness. What struck audiences about Mirzapur was the sheer rawness of that project, and I presume that OTT allowed that space, which isn't always there on the big screen. How for you has this experience been working with Vishal Bhardwaj?
It's actually, raw is a great word in all senses. It has been a very learning experience for me. It's the first time I crossed paths with Vishalji, and I'm so glad for my stars that happened, because he's already been doing that for a long time. आप बड़े पर्दे पे देख लीजिए, आप OTT पे देख लीजिए, in whatever way and form. So sure, the OTTs allow that little extra leeway. और मुझे लगता है the first few ones were everybody getting their bhadas out. I think now they are starting to normalize, and we are also trying to, really keep up with all the other work happening in the rest of the world. And I think Khufia is no less, and that whole world I've been introduced to by him.
Because interestingly, you were also supposed to do a couple of Hollywood projects, which you are at the moment.
Ji.
Then there's a Hollywood strike that takes
Ji.
place. So you find yourself caught between your Hollywood projects, which are put on hold, and doing a film like this. Are you finding that easy, making those
No.
do you believe Indian filmmakers are as effective in their storytelling abilities
Yes.
as, let's say, the foreign filmmakers are, even in the spy genre with a film like Night
Oh
Manager?
yes, I think this, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think this is at par with any other film. And like Sir said, even in the West, I don't think we've seen very few spy films and shows that have come out. There's The Spy on Netflix only, I think. But that's a series.
And the Americans, I think there was a show called The Americans.
Correct. Americans is, again, it's actually, yeah, that's
See, the Americans enjoyed doing spy
Brilliant.
films for the longest time and did a very, very good job of it.
But again, it's rooted. It goes to, it's about relationships. And then, of course, the suaveness of these spies, behind that. And that's fun.
Wamiqa, for a moment we mentioned briefly Jawan, and I read somewhere that you're working with Atlee on his next film.
Yay. Yes, he's producing his first, and yeah, I am fortunate enough to be part of that film. Yes.
So that's interesting. You have you can sort of move between a Vishal Bhardwaj and an Atlee with you're effectively crossing the divide, the great divide, that if there is any such divide.
Well, just different schools of filmmaking, different sensibilities, and I'm so happy that I've worked with directors like Vishal sir, or Vikramaditya Motwani, or Ranjan Chandel, or Atul Mongia sir. They all have just different sensibilities as a filmmaker. And I feel very fortunate to have worked with all of them, because they have helped me, with my emotionality and intelligence as an actor. And not all actors get to experience that. So I feel very, very fortunate. And I'm so happy that I've done 2 short films, 1 long format, and 1 film with Vishal sir. And I'm working with Atlee sir as well. So I am very lucky. I feel very fortunate.
One person who's not here, but is someone who's been very much part of your cinematic history, is Tabu. Every time I think of her, I think of you. You all have been able to put together a lot of great cinema. What makes her special? Do you sort of turn to her almost instinctively when you want to make a really good film?
वो बचपन का प्यार है एक्चुअली.
अरे वाह.
और आई थिंक सबका
अच्छा,
होगा.
और बता दो फिर.
या टबू.
नहीं, हर एक डायरेक्टर का कोई एक म्यूज होता है.
जी हाँ, बिल्कुल होता है, और वो बदलते भी रहते हैं. पर ये एक सोलमेट का रिश्ता है ये टबू के साथ, और बहुत पुराना. आप हम लोगों को काम करते हो साथ में. It's been like 29 years we have been working together. My first film was Marches, where I came as a music composer, and that film also changed world for both of us. For Tabu before that was not taken as a serious actor, and post that Tabu was a different, and I made my entry into Bollywood with Marches. So we have been working together, and there's a kind of understanding, trust, and love between us, which whenever we come together, because what I think, when we work on set, there is an energy, there is a vibe, and when that vibe is full of love, then we end up making good films. Even if we don't make good films, we remain so proud of our work. If that film doesn't succeed on box office, that doesn't matter. So that journey becomes so important. And with Taboo, that always happens. That the journey is so beautiful that you forget that what the result is going to be.
Because your other great soulmate, a filmy soulmate, if I may call, was Gulzar Saab, your mentor in many ways. Have you shown Khufia to him? Do you take some of your cinema to Gulzar Saab and say, "Sir, मैंने ये film बनाई है, आप जरा देख लीजिए." Is he someone who's like a sounding board for you?
Actually, more than that, he's more than my soulmate. मैं अक्सर बोलता हूँ कि वो एक जैसे बरगद का पेड़ होता है ना, वो पेड़ हैं और हम सब उनकी शाखाएं हैं, हम
अरे वाह!
उनकी ब्रांचेस हैं. तो मैं तो उन्हीं से जना हुआ हूँ, मैं उन्हीं का हिस्सा हूँ, उन्हीं से निकला हुआ हूँ. पहले मैं उन्हें एप भी करता था, मेरे जेस्चर्स पॉस्चर्स सब उनकी तरह होने लगे थे. मेरी पोइट्री जो थी वो भी वैसी ही थी. बड़े कॉन्शियसली मैंने अपने आप को उनसे अलग किया, मैंने अपना रास्ता ढूंढा. तो मेरे लिए ज़्यादा मुश्किल काम था. ऑब्वियसली मैं कुछ भी ऐसा नहीं करता हूँ ज़िंदगी में जो उनसे उनकी इजाज़त के बिना ना हो और जो उनसे उनके अप्रूवल के बिना ना हो. खुफिया ही रेड एज ए स्क्रिप्ट, ही वॉच्ड as a film, and I wanted to make an espionage film for a very long time. और मैं हैदर के वक्त में मैंने हैमलेट में एस्पिनाज प्लांट किया था, क्योंकि मैं इतना ऑब्सेस हूँ और था एस्पिनाज वर्ड से. तो उन्होंने जब पढ़ा मेरा ट्रीटमेंट हैमलेट का, तो he asked me कि yeah, it's very good, but it's like a very regular CIA films, that US made. Where's the tragedy of Hamlet? What are you doing? Because he tells me that I exploit Shakespeare's name to my advantage, and I am a fraud, and my films are actually original films. I make it for the business purposes. I exploit Shakespeare, which I disagree. But he says that. So he said, but if you are saying Hamlet, where's the tragedy of Hamlet? And my first instinct was, maybe Guldar Saab is outdated now. He is not able to see what I'm trying to do in this espionage thriller. But later, when my ego came down and my fever came down, so I realized that he's right. There's no tragedy, that the tragedy of Hamlet, which is so strong, which affects us so badly when we watch a good performance of Hamlet. So that's where I happened to read Basharat Peer's book, and then and Heather happened. Yeah.